겉모습을 보여도 넌 아름다워 그랬잖아 빛이 너의 얼굴빛이 이뻐 보여 마치 신데렐라 같이 내 마음에 풍긴 너의 향기까지 I love you 두 눈에 가득 담아가고파
I never wanted to marry 𝗦𝗡. It was a deal, a contract that my family orchestrated, an arranged marriage where her hand was chosen, and I complied because it was the logical step. I wasn't invested, and I made that clear from the start. She didn't want this either. Her quiet, reserved demeanor told me now. But she stayed because she had no other choice. We lived like strangers, existing in the same space, barely speaking unless necessary. I told myself I didn't care. This wasn't what I wanted. It was her mistake to marry me, I thought. She chose wrong. I had no obligation to make this easier for her, or so I convinced myself. Until tonight. I came home from work earlier than usual, the familiar hum of my life interrupted by the urgent call from my security team. The alarm had gone off, they said. Something about smoke. I rushed back immediately, heart pounding, mind swirling, with thoughts I wasn't ready to confront. What if something happened to her? I wasn't ready to admit it, but the very thought of 𝗦𝗡 being hurt or worse sent a cold, gripping fear through me. I rushed through the house, checking room after room, my desperation growing with each second of silence. 𝗦𝗡, I called out, my voice echoing through the large empty halls. No answer. 𝗦𝗡, I yelled louder, running up the stairs, down the corridor, through the living room. Still nothing. By the time I made it into one of the many kitchens, I was practically frantic, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. But then, there she was, standing in front of the counter, wearing an apron, her hands gently mixing ingredients in a bowl. Her movements were calm, but her face looked tense. Her gaze finally found mine, and for a second, I just stood there, unable to speak, my heart still hammering in my chest. The smoke alarm went off, she said, passing as she glanced down at the mess around her. I accidentally burnt some muffins. She spoke nervously, her voice soft, almost apologetic. The tension in her posture was clear, as if she expected me to be angry. I was breathless, staring at her like she was the only thing that mattered in the world, because in that moment, I realized she was. I stepped closer, taking in the sight of her, a simple movement of domesticity. And yet, it was all I could think about. The quiet life we led, the way we barely spoke, the walls I had put up. It all seemed so small compared to the weight of my feelings crashing down on me now. I thought. I stopped, swallowing the words before they could escape. She looked up, her brow furrowed slightly. You thought what? I thought something happened to you, I admitted, my voice quieter than I intended. When the alarm went off, I rushed home. I searched everywhere. Vian blinked, a look of confusion flickering across her face. But I'm fine. It was just some muffins. I know, I exhaled, trying to steady myself. But when I didn't hear you, I realized I can't live without telling you how I feel. Her eyes widened, her hand stealing over the ball. I can't live without you, I whispered, stepping closer. I thought I didn't care, that it was just a mistake, this marriage, this life we've been living. But I was wrong. I've been wrong about everything. I reached out, gently taking her hand in mine, feeling the warmth of the small tremble in her fingers. She didn't pull away, though her gaze was cautious. Why are you telling me this now? She asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Because I've been a fool. I didn't see it before. How much you mean to me, how much I need you. And when I thought I might have lost you, even for a second, it terrified me. Her eyes searched mine, and for a moment, the room was silent, the weight of my confession hanging in the air between us. You didn't want this marriage, she said, her voice steady but with uncertainty. You made that clear. I didn't know what I wanted then, I replied, my grip on her hand tightening ever so slightly. But I know now. I want you, Vian, not just as my wife, but as someone I love. I'm desperate for your love. Her breath hitched, and she looked away, the emotions too raw, too. I could see the conflict in her eyes, the doubt. You think it's that simple? She whispered, shaking her head. After all this time, after everything? She met my gaze, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. And if I don't? My heart twisted at the thought, but I nodded. Then I'll accept it. But I had to tell you, I had to try, because I can't live without at least fighting for you. There was a long silence, the tension thick in the air, and then she released a soft, trembling breath, her hand tightening around mine ever so slightly. You really mean it? She asked, her voice breaking just a little. I've never meant anything more in my life. She closed her eyes, her shoulders relaxing just a fraction, and when she opened them again, I saw something there, a sliver of hope, a crack in the wall she had built around her heart. Maybe, just maybe, she'd let me in. And for the first time since we married, I felt like there was a chance to make this right, to build something real between us, to love her the way I should have from the start. I watched as Vian's expression softened, the tension slowly melting from her features. Her gaze dropped to where our hands were still entwined, her thumb brushing lightly over mine. I don't know if I can just forget everything, she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. You hurt me. I know, I murmured, stepping even closer, so close that I could feel the warmth of against mine. And I'm so sorry for that, but I swear, Ryan, I'll spend every day making it up to you. Her eyes lifted to meet mine, and in that moment the world seemed to shrink, leaving only the two of us standing in the quiet kitchen. My heart pounded in my chest as the gravity of the movement pulled me closer, my breath mingling with. Slowly, tentatively, I cupped her cheek with my free hand, my thumb grazing the soft beneath her eye. She didn't pull away. Instead, her eyes fluttered shut for just a second, as if she was gathering the strength to let me in. When she opened them again, something shifted between us. There was no more hesitation, no more doubt. I leaned in, closing the remaining space, and pressed my was soft at first, hesitant, like we were testing the waters of something fragile and new. But as soon as her moved against, everything inside me exploded with emotion. The desperation, the longing, the regret. All of it poured into that. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathless, our foreheads resting together as we stood there in the quiet aftermath of tea. I could feel her heartbeat matching mine, fast and unsteady. Ryan, I whispered, my voice. I love you. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with emotions I couldn't quite name, but the soft smile that tugged at her lips told me enough. I think I might love you too, she murmured, and just like that, the space between us disappeared again as I pulled her into another, this one filled with a newfound sense of hope. This time, it wasn't just desperation driving me, it was love.